You consider a national mandate that people need to wear masks?
No, I want people to have a certain freedom, and I don't believe in that, no. And I don't agree with the statement that if everybody wear a mask, everything disappears.
Masks, quite frankly, are more important for people who are infected to prevent them from infecting someone else.
And hopefully they would get a better mask than the drugstore sells?
Right. The drugstore masks that sell have a lot of loopholes in them that let the virus through.
Trump also shared a tweet claiming that masks aren't about public health, but social control, and that the image of Joe Biden wearing one endorses a culture of silence, slavery, and social death.
It's going to come. Here we go.
A very different
Takes it off.
and incorrect message.
One thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. There's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune.
Doctor, in the video the president released, he makes a comment that maybe he's immune. Can someone who is still infected with the coronavirus be immune?
No, it doesn't even make sense. He's clearly not immune because he got coronavirus. I don't know that he knows the meaning of the word immune.
Since the coronavirus pandemic started, there have been a lot of questions about immunity. Now, a new report has some very welcome good news. They found immunity could last years, maybe even decades.
A lot of good things have come out about the hydroxy. A lot of good things have come out. I happen to be taking it.
The overwhelming prevailing clinical trials that have looked at the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine have indicated that it is not effective in coronavirus disease.
Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, who becomes known for using hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID-19, has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
It's important because it gives credibility to the message.
You were one of the first physicians to confront COVID in such a different way, designing this cocktail of drugs and vitamins. You used hydroxychloroquine until health agencies blocked access to such drugs.
And my question is, have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
And what gives you a high degree of confidence that this originated from the Wuhan Institute of Virology?
I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that.
Former intelligence workers tell Newsy they fear the Trump administration's assertions that COVID-19 started in a Wuhan lab stem from ideology, not intelligence.
But a former medical intelligence analyst says more evidence points to the virus evolving in nature, and that the president may have been citing untrustworthy rags or blogs to deflect blame from the U.S. pandemic response. Newsy also learned that 2 former intelligence workers have heard of current workers being pushed to the edge to pursue conspiracy theories of the origins of the coronavirus.
Dr. Anthony Fauci now says he's not sure exactly how coronavirus came to infect humans and left open the possibility that the virus could have come from a lab.
Are you still confident that it developed naturally?
No, I'm not convinced about that.
To be clear, Dr. Fauci never said that COVID-19 did not come from a lab. What he said was there was no scientific evidence supporting that it did. So how did we get here? With America's most prominent public health expert saying that the lab leak theory, which was previously hawked by conspiracy theorists, might actually be credible.
And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You take a look at what's happening at some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce. Look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
The idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases. And he wants to open it up more. You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis.
Well, stay-at-home orders were thought to be the best way to reduce the spread of COVID-19, but a new study suggests lockdowns did not work. They say although the shutdown may have lessened the peak of transmissions, it did not show statistically significant reductions in critical cases or deaths. They say the main factors in death rates were obesity and low income.
Joining me now is a governor who refused to give in to the left's demands and lockdown requests, Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota. You have been lambasted in the press for not stripping your residents of their basic freedoms and their right to work and go to school. But here we are about now 6 months into this pandemic, and South Dakota still has a death rate 11 times lower than New York's per 100,000 people.
We're doing very well, Laura, and that's really the story that needs to be told. Not only do we have one of the lowest death rates, we've got about 40 people that are in the hospital today statewide. Our infection rates are low. Our job losses are low. Our economy is doing better than virtually any other state. And I think it's a real testimony to what could have been possible in many of these other states. The governors just made the wrong decisions.
But again, it's not solely vaccine-based. Other things have never had a vaccine and they go away. So I don't want people to think that this is all dependent on vaccine, but a vaccine would be a tremendous thing. And I will tell you, therapeutically or therapeutics, what's going on there is equally as impressive.
As more vaccines become available, the White House is increasingly worried by resistance among Republicans to getting the vaccine. An NPR PBS Marist poll this week finding 49% of Republican men, 49% Republican men don't intend to get it. The good news is Trump finally encouraged his supporters to get vaccinated earlier this week, but will that make a dent in the misinformation already spreading among conservatives?
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
First question is the vaccine safe? Frankly, I'm not going to trust the federal government's opinion. And I wouldn't recommend to New Yorkers based on the federal government's opinion.
I trust vaccines, I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump. And at this moment, the American people can't either.
Look at this. Just 36% of battleground state voters now say they will definitely or probably get the COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available. That's down considerably since July. You see there, the number is declining most sharply among the Democrats who are in blue versus the Republicans in red. Still, Democrats at 47% will take the vaccine in much higher numbers than Republicans at 24%, but there's that sharp downtick among Democrats in their confidence in the vaccine. Voters express concerns that President Trump is pushing to release COVID-19 vaccine too quickly in order to help his reelection chances. 57% of battleground voters are concerned about that, guys. Look, this isn't specifically in the poll, but you do get the sense that the politicization of all of this, that's affecting the confidence of Americans in terms of whether they're going to be safe and whether or not it's going to be safe to take this vaccine. You see that sharp downtick in Democrats who say they're willing to take a vaccine.
The Trump campaign is accusing Twitter and Facebook of censorship after the social media companies blocked the spread of an unverified story about former Vice President Joe Biden's son and a laptop allegedly full of his old emails. It's a story raising concerns about whether it's real or just designed to sow confusion in the final weeks of the election.
Over the past few days, President Trump has highlighted a report by the New York Post about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. There are major questions about the origins and the accuracy of that story. And today, we learn more about concerns expressed by the president's most senior advisors, that the president's personal attorney was peddling Russian disinformation.
Does it surprise you at all that this information Rudy Giuliani is peddling very well could be connected to some sort of Russian government disinformation campaign?
Well, we know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin,
That's been clear for well over a year now that they've been pushing this false narrative about the vice president and his son. But I guess at this point, we can't be shocked by anything this administration does, no matter how craven.
So the Burisma story that they all told us was completely fake turns out to have a lot of truth to it, huh? And to boot, that other emails obtained by the Post actually show Hunter leveraging his status as the son of the former vice president as a way to increase his compensation from Burisma. But what happened next is what really concerns me. Andy Stone, a communications officer for Facebook, he quickly tweeted, quote, "While I will intentionally not link to the New York Post, I want to be clear. This story is eligible to be fact-checked by Facebook's third-party fact-checking partners. In the meantime, we are reducing its distribution on our platform." Let that sink in. Facebook is openly saying they have decided to internally stop the spread of this story on their platform, not because it's been proven false, because they just decided to. But it gets worse. Shortly afterwards, Twitter announced that in accordance with its, quote, hacked materials policy, it would be straight up censoring the link to the New York Post story. You couldn't even tweet it if you wanted to. And if you had already done so, it would not take you directly to the website. This is the most overt act of big tech censorship we have ever seen.
We found out now the mainstream media had far greater influence and interference in our election than any Russian interference ever could have hoped for. The McLaughlin poll said that 36% of Biden voters had never heard of the Hunter Biden story because of the censorship and suppression. Of that, 13%, once they found out, said they wouldn't have voted for Biden. So that means 4.6% of Biden voters would not have voted for him. That means Trump would have won the election.
People are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots, these people that have gotten it wrong. Fauci's a nice guy. He's been here for 500 years. He called every one of them wrong. And he's like this wonderful guy, a wonderful sage telling us out. He said, do not wear face masks. That's a number of months ago. He said, do not close it up to China. I have a list of 15 things this guy. And yet, we keep him. Every time he goes on television, there's always a bomb. But there's a bigger bomb if you fire him.
There will be a surprise outbreak. There is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history, the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID, will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with. The thing we're extraordinarily confident about is that we are going to see this in the next few years. Thank you.